There's a fantastic video from 2015 where the talk show host Jimmy Kimmel sent a reporter out onto the streets to ask people about their password practices. Now the clip is both enormously entertaining and enormously enlightening because it tells us not only about how people like to create their passwords, but how easy it is to socially engineer it out of them. Now I really recommend going and watching this video, but I want to talk precisely about how the social engineer engineered the password out of the lady on the screen here. Here's how it went down. So the reporter's talking to the victim, and for all intents and purposes, this lady was the victim of a social engineering attack. And the reporter asks her, "What's one of your online passwords?" Now the victim is initially smart enough not to give a direct answer. She tells the reporter instead how she creates the password. Dog's name and year graduated from school. Okay, that's a fairly common sort of practice. People use these memorable patterns. Now the reporter does not push her for exactly what the password is. Instead, she starts asking about the dog. What kind of dog do you have? It's a little bit of misdirection because the answer to this question is in no way directly valuable to figuring out what the actual password was. The victim responds, "I have a Papillon." That's fine, but that then opens the door for the reporter's next question. What's his name? Now that's a perfectly reasonable question to someone when you're talking about their dog. And without thinking, the victim responds, "It's Jameson." Now that's great, because the social engineer, and let's also be clear, that's what the reporter here is. She is engineering this information out of the victim. Then moves on to the next question. Where did you go to school? So she's not directly going in and saying, "Hey, when did you graduate?" That could well scare the victim. Instead, she's making conversation, getting the victim off guard. "I went to school back in Greensburg, Pennsylvania." The social engineer then pushes onwards. "What school was it?" "Hatfield Area Senior High School." Again, a piece of information which is of no direct relevance to what the value of the password actually is. But it's given the two of them enough rapport. The conversation is casual, everybody's relaxed. So the social engineer then asks what she really wants to know. When did you graduate? And of course by now the victim is perfectly relaxed and responds with the answer, in 2009. So that's the whole thing in 6 simple questions and 6 simple answers. The social engineer now has the victim's password. And as we've now seen, passwords are an enormously valuable commodity to an attacker who then wants to engage in identity theft. How many places has the victim potentially reused that same password? She was pretty certain when she first responded to the reporter that that is the password she uses. It's not the password that she used in one place for one purpose, but rather this is almost certainly the password that she has used and reused many times over, because this is what so many people do with passwords. That's also why data breaches are such a valuable source of social engineering data, because there's a very high certainty that the passwords that appear in those breaches are going to work in many other different places. Now, one of the techniques we've seen multiple times throughout this module, particularly in Matt Honen's Epic Hacking, is impersonation. And impersonation is a really key part of social engineering, and it's one of the techniques that the engineer uses extensively to be able to extract information from their victim. Let's now move on, have a look at it in more detail, and then I want to give you a really good example of how impersonation has been used in another real-world attack.